So we're continuing a service that's going through the Serenity Prayer. And today we're going to be covering the section that says accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking as Jesus did this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it. And there's a few scriptures that really go along with this. There's John 16:33. I have told you these things, Jesus said, so that in me you might have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. Romans 5:3-5. We also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope. And then Luke 22:42 says, Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me. But then look at how he closes that prayer. Yet not my will, but yours be done. So, I knew a young man in a recovery house, and he had a child with his girlfriend, but now she wouldn't talk to him. I overheard one of his conversations with her, and I couldn't help but overhear because he was shouting so loud the whole block could probably hear him. And he went on and overtalked her for nearly an hour. I kept trying to cut him off. And I'm guessing she was more frustrated than I was. He was demanding that she better give him another chance. She just has to. He was shaming and pressuring her. And he said they could get married and all their problems would go away if they just got married. Well, you know how that's going to end, don't you? Not too good. And when he was not over-talking her, he was obsessing about her. If only we were together, if only she was with me, life would all change. But he just could not take rejection or even just mild correction without crashing out. And so if one obsession didn't work, he'd pour himself into another obsession to try to prove that he was awesome and get people to like him. And when he talked to me later, he asked me if I'd train him to be a pastor, and this is in the same time that he's having all this trouble. And he said, well, then I can get paid and people will listen to me and respect me automatically if I become a pastor. Sound like a little magical thinking? He needed a quick fix to make things go his way and force things to go his way so he could feel good about himself. And a team of us tried to coach him and mentor him. Just be faithful in the small things, and those small things keep adding up, win after win after win, and then you've got something. But he wouldn't even take in one small piece of correction. And when he did, he'd forget about it in a few hours or a few days. He could not take a setback as a pathway to peace. He had magical thinking and refused to have his unrealistic thinking corrected. Now, since that time, he's been on several benders. Does that surprise you? Not really. Left a string of broken relationships. Walked off several jobs when he got any pushback or correction. Now, this young man could not take life as it is. He didn't like the idea of growing slowly and taking one day at a time. He wanted to blame everyone else for his problems and would not accept setbacks as an opportunity to learn and grow in humility. And when people corrected him on the job site, this was an opportunity to grow, but his shame and pride got hooked and he reacted, and life even got harder for him. And more self-pity. But according to him, none of it was his fault. He embraced victimhood as an identity, refused to be honest with himself and own his stuff and accept this world and his life as it really is. But that's the heart of growing. It's realizing, admitting where you really are. That's where all growth starts. Now, can you imagine what would happen if you pull up a Google map and you wanted to go to Miami, but you refused to put in the directions, you wouldn't put in your address of where you really are. You just don't feel like you have to really admit where you are. And then you got really mad and upset because it wouldn't give you directions to the destination you wanted to go. And yet you're mad and throwing your phone because you won't put in your address of where you really are, but it won't give you directions forward. Well, what's wrong with this picture? You see, that's what it's like to not really admit where you are and take life as it is, not as we wish it to be. You have to start somewhere, and if you admit where you're starting from, then you can map out a destination. But if you don't put a starting point, it won't give you directions. Life won't, God won't. We can't see it. Now, the journey might be a long one, but at least we'll get there. And there was another young man who couldn't accept hardship without crashing out. He failed his driver's test, and he crashed out and quit on God because he failed his driver's test. And instead of studying harder and taking it again, he gave up. And when people did not do things his way on his schedule, he sparked up drama, put it on social media, tried to get everyone to turn against those who let him down. Have you ever been there? You ever seen that? I'm talking about probably 12 to 15 people I've witnessed do the same kind of thing. Sparking up the drama because someone disagrees with them. Failing a test, and instead of saying, I'll study and get it right the next time, the shame gets hooked and we give up and blame everything on God. So now there's no license, there's fewer friends, there's a mindset the world's against him, and instead of accepting hardship as a path to peace, he took hardship with self-pity and a defeated mindset. Now, this part of the Serenity Prayer matters to us because we will be in a place where there are hardships and setbacks. Every one of us, if you're in recovery or not, you're going to have a setback in life. Licenses, relationships, problems with our house or our mortgage, paying our bills, getting kids back, mending relationships. There's going to be setbacks. But with God's help, we can handle hardship by using it as a pathway to growth. Now, if God didn't close some doors in my life, I would have experienced a lot more hardship, even though I was kind of torqued off at the time because I wanted what I wanted. And I complained while he closed the doors to the things that would have killed my soul and my calling. So we demand things go our way, but don't even know what our calling is or how God's going to use these setbacks because he wants us in a different direction with his favor and blessing. So kicking addictions and life-controlling problems, it confronts us with the hard truth. Life does not instantly get easier just because we choose sobriety or when you become a believer and address your issues. Problems don't just go away. Relationships still need repair. Consequences still exist. The old instinct to resist this, to wish things were different, easier, faster, fairer, and then give up. But Jesus never promised a trouble-free life. Instead, he promised peace in the middle of the trouble. And he promised the overcoming power to handle setbacks. So you might have a setback with your license, but you have no setbacks with God's bigger plan in your life because that's still there. That doesn't go away with temporary setbacks. So keep going. God might be closing some doors to keep you out of a bad outcome. But that might be something you don't even see coming. But he's protecting you. And now when we accept hardship as a pathway rather than a punishment, something shifts inside of us. We stop fighting reality. We start walking with God through reality as it really exists. And this is where peace begins, not when life changes completely, but when our grip loosens. Now, how can we think of hardship as a pathway to peace? We see that setback, and we can use it to get better. We can ask questions like, how did I set myself up for failing that test or falling into sin? What was I doing? God, I'm not going to hide from you. Show me what led up to this. Show me where I let my guard down. Reveal that to me so I can be stronger next time instead of quitting altogether. How can I grow stronger and wiser in the setback? But we have to pause our quick reactions and look at the big picture of what God's doing in this setback to get anywhere. Otherwise, we'll just give up. So sometimes hardships and setbacks are due to our immaturity, something we messed up. Sometimes it's on another person. But God knows every setback that'll happen, and he's making a plan for you to grow stronger as you hit roadblocks and setbacks. He has a plan. So use that setback as an opportunity to grow stronger, smarter, wiser. And here's what you can know for sure when things don't go the way you want them to. Romans 8:28 says, we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him and who have been called according to his purposes. Not some things, but all things. So God is still working in some way, and the goal is to find out how God is working instead of having a temper tantrum and quitting. Jesus endured the unfairness of this world. Jesus didn't deny the brokenness of this world. He entered it fully, and he loved people as they were, enduring pain he didn't deserve, and trusted the Father even when the road led him to the cross. So what good did God bring out of suffering and the rejection Jesus endured? Well, he provided salvation and a blessing to everyone in the world who calls on his name. It's a good thing Jesus handled his setback of the cross and the scourging and the spitting and the rejecting with maturity, with wisdom, instead of just having a hissy fit. Can you imagine if he had a hissy fit like we do sometimes? I don't deserve this. And out he walked. Well, none of us would be saved. So Jesus would say it's worth it. And so in recovery, we're invited to that same posture, not numbing the pain, not escaping reality, not controlling outcomes, but trusting God one day at a time. Now, many people in recovery tell me that their addictions began as a way to cope with pain. And this pain began because someone maybe sinned against them, or they were ignored or neglected, or even suffered violence or sexual abuse. And this starts with a spiral of self-doubt, a loss of boundaries. It kicks in a survival mechanism. And for those who suffer these terrible things, know that God will create a new place that's safe, in which people will love you, see you, value you for who God made you to be. He has an answer to your past. So don't let people who hurt you have the final word over your life. They don't get to define you forever. They're not up to the level of Jesus, who created us, who wants to define us. So unless they repent, the people who offended you will face the wrath of God. God has an answer for it all. Don't let anyone else define you, even your past or the things you're involved in. Now, you might have trouble trusting people, but you can trust God and start over. God gave people free will. They took advantage of their free will and ran over some of your boundaries, but you're not there anymore. There's a new life waiting for you. Accepting the world as it is does not mean approving of it. God does not approve of evil. It means acknowledging reality without resentment. It means choosing faith over frustration. Peace will grow where resistance and denial once lived. So we have to face reality and accept this world is not a paradise. Bad things will happen, and we have to fight the resistance to rely on our survival techniques to get by. But it means we have to face the hardship of going through the pain or hard challenge of rebuilding. Now, here's a few Bible passages that really cover a lot of what we're talking about. The first one applies to accepting hardship as a pathway to peace. Romans 5:3-5. We also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope. So hardship becomes formative rather than destructive, and it can. You might lose most of your friends you partied with if you walk away from the life, and they might hate on you, but that means you've made friends with God. And as you stand up and even welcome the challenges, you'll grow spiritual muscles you didn't even know you had. You'll have friends who want the best for you and who can't wait to bless you. And then the second line, taking as Jesus did. Philippians 2:5-8. Have the same mindset as Christ Jesus. What was his mindset? He humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death of the cross. So Jesus accepted the Father's will rather than escaping suffering. Why? Because he determined to love God more than a comfortable life. And something beautiful came out of that, and it all was well. And then the third, this sinful world as it really is, Matthew 9:12 says, it is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. Christ meets the world where it actually is, not where it should be. If you feel emotionally sick, or some of you listening might even feel dope sick, well, Jesus came for you. Press through the urges and noise to get the peace that he offers. He entered our crazy world with your rescue plan. He's got one designed for you. And not as I would have it. Proverbs 3, 5 through 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. Letting go of control is an act of faith. So here's a few reflection questions. What hardship am I currently resisting instead of accepting? Number 2, how has fighting reality accepted my peace or sobriety? Number 3, what would it look like to trust God in this situation today, even just for today? Number 4, where might God be shaping character in me through my struggles, through my challenges? What is he doing with this to be formative inside of me? And number 5, when facing hardships or setbacks, will you pray, God, how do you want to show off your power to overcome this in my life? Heal me, bless me, or just help me to stand. Stay on my feet. Make it another day. A suggested prayer. God, I admit that I often want life on my terms. I want relief without growth, peace without surrender, change without discomfort. Teach me to accept hardship as a pathway, not a dead end. Help me to take this world as it is, not as I wish it were. Give me the courage to trust you where I feel weak, and the humility to follow Jesus in obedience. And today I release control. Today I choose acceptance. Today I trust you to bring peace in your way and in your time. In Jesus' name.